Hey Sagittarius, I want to talk to you today about something that has been showing up really strongly in the energy around abundance and prosperity. I have been pulling cards specifically asking which energy in your environment is actually weakening your abundance vibration. And what I am seeing here is absolutely fascinating because it is not what most people would expect. So I just pulled the first card, and it is the Nine of Swords. And okay, this is telling me something really important right away. There is an energy of anxiety and mental overwhelm that is sitting around you, Sagittarius. This is not necessarily your own anxiety, but it could be someone close to you who is constantly in a state of worry. You know, that person who always talks about what could go wrong, who obsesses over worst-case scenarios, who cannot sleep at night because they are running through every possible catastrophe. That energy is literally draining your abundance vibration. Let me explain why this matters so much. Abundance operates on a frequency of openness and possibility. It flows toward optimism and expansion. But when you are surrounded by someone who is constantly broadcasting fear and worry, it is like trying to tune into a radio station while someone else is blasting static right next to you. You cannot receive the signal clearly. This Nine of Swords energy might be coming from a family member, maybe a partner, possibly even a coworker who you interact with daily. They do not mean harm, but their constant state of mental torment creates this heavy, anxious fog that makes it incredibly difficult for you to maintain the high vibration necessary to attract prosperity. I want you to think about this carefully. Have you noticed that when you spend time with certain people, you start feeling more worried about money? You start second-guessing opportunities. You begin focusing on what you lack instead of what is possible. That is not coincidence. That is energy transfer. The Nine of Swords person in your life is unconsciously pulling you into their frequency of lack and fear. And here is the thing about Sagittarius energy. You are naturally optimistic and future-focused. But even your fire can be dampened when it is constantly exposed to the cold water of someone else's perpetual anxiety. This card is showing me late-night conversations where someone is dumping their financial fears on you. It is showing me someone who constantly talks about how hard everything is, how nothing ever works out, how the world is against them. And every single one of those conversations is like a little leak in your abundance container. You might not notice it happening, but slowly, your own confidence starts to waver. Your own belief in possibility starts to shrink. You start playing smaller because you have absorbed their fearful worldview. The Nine of Swords is also pointing to something else here. There might be an energy around you that is so caught up in past financial traumas that they cannot see future opportunities. Someone who had a bankruptcy, who lost money in a bad investment, who got burned by a business deal, and now they have built this entire identity around being a victim of financial circumstance. When you talk about your goals and dreams, they immediately bring up all the ways it could fail. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they are genuinely terrified, and they have mistaken their fear for wisdom. Now the second card I pulled is the Knight of Swords. And this is really interesting because it is showing me a very different kind of energy that is also weakening your abundance. This is someone around you who is all action, but no strategy. They are constantly rushing, constantly pushing, constantly trying to force outcomes through sheer aggression and speed. This might be someone in your business circle or even in your family who believes that success comes from working yourself to death, from never resting, from treating every opportunity like a battle that must be won immediately. This Knight of Swords energy around you is problematic for your abundance because it operates from a scarcity mindset disguise. D is ambition. It is the energy that says if you are not constantly hustling, someone else will take what is yours. It is the energy that cannot trust in divine timing or natural flow. Everything has to happen now, and if it does not happen now, then we must fight harder, push more, sacrifice everything. This energy is exhausting to be around, and it completely disrupts the ease and flow that true abundance requires. Sagittarius, you are a fire sign, so you understand action and enthusiasm. But what this Knight of Swords around you does not understand is that there is a difference between inspired action and frantic desperation. When you are around this energy too much, you start to feel like you are not doing enough. You start to feel guilty for resting, for taking time to strategize, for allowing things to unfold naturally. This person might be constantly asking you why you have not made more progress, why you are not working harder, why you are not pushing faster. And that energy of never being enough, never doing enough. That is absolutely toxic to abundance. I am also seeing with this Knight of Swords that there might be someone around you who is very cutting with their words about money and success. They might make sharp comments about your choices. They might be quick to point out where you are falling short. They might have this really aggressive communication style when it comes to discussing finances or opportunities, even if they think they are being helpful or motivating. What they are actually doing is creating an environment where you feel criticized and pressured rather than supported and uplifted. The third card here is the Two of Wands. And okay, this is showing me something about someone in your environment who is stuck in the planning phase and never executing. This might seem harmless at first, but this energy is incredibly draining to your abundance vibration because it represents stagnation disguised as preparation. There is someone around you who is always talking about what they are going to do. Always making plans, always researching and preparing. But they never actually take the leap. This Two of Wands energy affects your abundance because it normalizes waiting. It normalizes the idea that you need to have everything perfect before you move forward. It normalizes staying in your comfort zone while telling yourself you are being strategic. When you are constantly exposed to someone who is perpetually at the planning stage but never at the doing stage, it can make you question your own timing. It can make you wonder if maybe you should wait longer, prepare more, think about it some more before you take action on your financial goals. What is particularly challenging about this energy is that the person holding the Two of Wands often has really good ideas and genuine potential. They are not lazy or unmotivated, but they are paralyzed by the need to make the perfect choice, to have the perfect plan, to ensure absolute certainty before they move. And when you are around this energy, it can be contagious. You might find yourself overthinking opportunities that you would normally jump on. You might find yourself making pro and con lists for the 100th time instead of trusting your Sagittarius gut and going for it. This person might also be someone who is always looking at what else is out there, always comparing options, always wondering if there is something better just beyond the horizon. And while your Sagittarius nature understands the desire to explore all possibilities, this Two of Wands energy is not about healthy exploration. It is about fear of commitment and fear of making the wrong choice. That indecisive energy creates a field of uncertainty around you that makes it hard for abundance to land and stick. The fourth card is the Six of Cups. And this one is really tender but also really important. There is an energy around you that is deeply attached to the past, and that nostalgia is actually blocking your abundance flow. This could be someone who constantly talks about how things used to be, how much better life was before, how nothing today compares to the good old days. It could also be someone who keeps bringing up your past, maybe reminding you of who you used to be, what you used to do, keeping you tethered to an old identity that no longer serves your growth. The Six of Cups around you in this abundance reading is showing me that someone in your environment has a very romanticized view of the past that prevents them from being fully present to current opportunities. They might talk about past financial successes in a way that makes everything now seem inadequate. They might hold onto old ways of doing things and resist new approaches to creating wealth. They might even be someone who keeps giving you gifts or support that come with strings attached, keeping you in a childlike role of dependency rather than stepping into your full power as an abundant creator. This energy weakens your abundance vibration because abundance is about now and next, not back then. When you are surrounded by someone who is constantly pulling the conversation and the energy backward, it is like trying to drive forward while someone holds the emergency brake. You might have big visions for your future, Sagittarius. But if someone around you keeps reminding you of limitations you had in the past, or keeps wanting you to stay the person you were before, it creates this internal conflict that scatters your manifestation power. I am also seeing with this Six of Cups that there might be some family money dynamics at play. Perhaps there is someone in your family who has certain expectations about what you should do financially, based on family tradition or family history. Maybe there is pressure to follow a certain career path, to value money in a certain way, to make choices that honor the family legacy rather than your own authentic abundance path. That weight of familial expectation, even when it comes from love, can be a massive block to your personal prosperity. Now the fifth card is the Two of Pentacles. And this is showing me someone in your environment who is in constant survival mode. juggling too many things, always barely keeping their head above water financially. This energy around you is probably someone you care about, someone who is genuinely struggling to make ends meet, and your compassionate Sagittarius heart feels for them. But here's what is happening. Their constant state of financial juggling and stress is creating a vibration of lack that you are absorbing. When you are around someone who is always in crisis mode with money, always robbing Peter to pay Paul, always stressed about the next bill, that energy of barely managing becomes normalized in your field. You might start to feel guilty about your own desires for abundance. You might feel like you need to stay small financially so you do not make them feel bad. You might even find yourself unconsciously sabotaging your own prosperity because some part of you feels disloyal to be thriving when they are struggling. The Two of Pentacles person around you is not trying to hold you back. They are just so caught up in their own financial chaos that they cannot hold space for your expansion. When you share good news about money or opportunities, they might immediately shift the conversation to their own problems. When you talk about your financial goals, they might unintentionally minimize them because they are so focused on survival that thriving seems like a fantasy. This energy keeps you stuck in problem-solving mode rather than possibility-thinking mode. There is also something here about this Two of Pentacles energy creating instability in your environment. Maybe this person borrows money and takes a long time to pay it back. Maybe they constantly have emergencies that require your help. Maybe their financial chaos creates stress in your shared living space or work environment. All of that instability makes it very difficult to build and maintain a solid abundance foundation. You cannot build wealth on shaky ground, and this energy around you is creating constant tremors in your financial stability. The sixth card I am seeing is the Moon. And this one is particularly important because it is pointing to an energy of deception and illusion around your abundance. There is someone in your environment who is not being truthful about money, either with you or with themselves. This could be someone who presents themselves as financially successful, but is actually drowning in debt. It could be someone who makes promises about money that they never keep. It could be someone who has a very distorted relationship with wealth and is projecting that distortion onto you. The Moon energy weakens your abundance vibration because it creates confusion and uncertainty. You cannot make clear financial decisions when you are surrounded by smoke screens and half-truths. This person might give you advice about money that sounds good but is actually leading you astray. They might have hidden agendas when it comes to your financial success. They might even be unconsciously envious of your potential and subtly undermining you through confusion and misdirection. What makes this Moon energy particularly challenging is that it is not always obvious. The person carrying this energy might seem supportive on the surface. They might say all the right things, but underneath, there is something murky and unclear. You might notice that after spending time with them, you feel uncertain about decisions you were previously confident about. You might feel foggy about your financial direction. You might start doubting your own intuition about money matters. This card is also showing me that there might be some secret financial behaviors happening around you that are affecting your energy. Maybe someone close to you is hiding debt, hiding spending, hiding financial problems. That secretive energy creates a field of mistrust and anxiety that seeps into your own relationship with money, even if you are not directly involved in their financial secrets. The energy of deception and hidden shadows weakens the clear, honest vibration that abundance requires. The seventh card is the King of Swords. And this is interesting because it is showing me someone around you who has a very rigid, intellectual approach to money that lacks heart and intuition. This might be someone who is financially successful by traditional measures, but they have achieved that success through cold calculation rather than aligned action. They might be very judgmental about how others handle money, very critical of anything that does not fit their logical framework of wealth building. This King of Swords energy around you is problematic for your Sagittarius. Abundance because it devalues the spiritual and intuitive aspects of prosperity. This person might scoff at manifestation, might roll their eyes at any talk of energy and vibration, might think that the only real path to wealth is through hard-nosed strategy and ruthless decision. AKING. When you are around this energy, you might start to feel foolish for trusting your intuition. You might start to question the validity of your more spiritual or philosophical approach to abundance. I'm also seeing that this King of Swords person might be someone who uses their intelligence and logic as a weapon. They might make you feel stupid about financial mistakes. They might be quick to point out flaws in your thinking. They might dominate conversations about money with their opinions and make you feel like your perspective is not valid. That energy of intellectual superiority and harsh judgment creates a fear of being wrong that can paralyze your ability to take risks and seize opportunities. This card is showing me that there is someone in your environment who believes that emotions and money should never mix, who thinks that being strategic means being detached, who has cut themselves off from the heart-centered wisdom that you as a Sagittarius naturally possess. When you are around this energy too much, you start to distrust your own emotional intelligence about finances. You start to think that maybe you are too idealistic, too optimistic, too trusting. But the truth is, your fire sign intuition and your philosophical approach to wealth are actually gifts, and this cold, overly mental energy is dampening your natural abundance magnetism. The eighth card here is the Hermit, and this is showing me that there is an energy of isolation and withdrawal around your abundance. This could be someone in your life who has completely retreated from the world of opportunity and connection. Maybe they work from home and rarely interact with others. Maybe they have been hurt in business before and now they keep everyone at arm's length. Maybe they have adopted a mindset of not needing anything or anyone, priding themselves on being completely self-sufficient to the point of isolation. This Hermit energy affects your abundance because prosperity often comes through connection, collaboration, and community. When you are around someone who is perpetually withdrawn and isolated, it normalizes staying small and hidden. It makes networking feel unnecessary. It makes collaboration feel risky. It reinforces the idea that you should just keep your head down and not put yourself out there. For a Sagittarius who naturally thrives on expansion and connection, this isolating energy is particularly toxic. The person carrying this Hermit energy might give you advice to trust no one, to keep your ideas to yourself, to not share your success or your struggles. They might discourage you from joining groups or attending events or putting yourself in situations where abundance opportunities typically flow. They have mistaken solitude for safety, and that energy of protective withdrawal is creating a barrier around your ability to attract and receive abundance. I am also seeing that this Hermit energy might be someone who is so focused on inner work and spiritual development that they have neglected the practical, material world. They might have this attitude that money is not spiritual, that wanting abundance is somehow shallow or materialistic. They might make you feel guilty for having financial goals, suggesting that you should be above such worldly concerns. But the truth is, Sagittarius, you are allowed to be both spiritual and prosperous. This energy of false spirituality that demonizes wealth is absolutely weakening your abundance vibration. The ninth card is strength. And at first this might seem positive, but in this context it is showing me someone around you who is using their strength in the wrong way. This is someone who has incredible resilience and power, but they are applying it to endure suffering rather than create change. They pride themselves on how much they can handle, how much hardship they can withstand, how strong they are in the face of constant struggle. And that energy of glorifying struggle is absolutely toxic to your abundance. This strength person around you might have this martyr complex where they believe that anything worth having must be hard won through suffering and sacrifice. They might look down on ease and flow, thinking it is somehow less noble than fighting and enduring. When you are around this energy, you might start to feel guilty when things come easily to you. You might start to believe that if you are not struggling, you are not doing it right. You might even unconsciously create obstacles and challenges, because you have absorbed the belief that struggle equals worthiness. What makes this particularly challenging for your Sagittarius energy is that you are naturally optimistic and you believe in the possibility of joyful success. But when you are surrounded by someone who wears their struggles like badges of honor, who cannot celebrate when things go smoothly because they are waiting for the other shoe to drop, it dampens your natural enthusiasm and makes you question whether ease is even possible or acceptable. This strength energy is also showing me someone who might be controlling their fear through rigid discipline rather than actually healing it. They might have very strict rules about money, very rigid routines, very controlled approaches to everything. And while discipline has its place, this kind of white-knuckled control over every aspect of life comes from fear, not faith. That controlled, fearful energy even when it looks like strength on the surface, is actually a vibration of lack and mistrust that weakens your abundance flow. The 10th and final card is the Four of Swords, and this is showing me an energy around you of complete stagnation and resignation. There is someone in your environment who has given up, who has checked out, who has decided that they are just going to accept whatever comes without any effort to create or improve. This might be someone who is resting, but not in a restorative way. They are resting in defeat. They are recovering from burnout by shutting down completely rather than healing and rebuilding. This Four of Swords energy is particularly draining to your abundance because it represents a total lack of forward momentum. When you are around someone who has no goals, no dreams, no desire to grow or expand, it can make your own ambitions feel exhausting or pointless. This person might respond to your excitement about opportunities with apathy. They might meet your plans with indifference. They might be so checked out that they cannot even engage with conversations about possibility and potential. For a Sagittarius who is naturally future-oriented and vision-driven, being around this stagnant, resigned energy is like trying to run a race with weights around your ankles. You feel the drag of their inertia. You feel the heaviness of their acceptance of limitation. You might even start to question whether your own drive and ambition is too much, whether you should just relax and accept things as they are like they have. This Four of Swords is also pointing to someone who might be spiritually bypassing their financial situation. They might say things like everything happens for a reason or the universe will provide while taking zero action to improve their circumstances. They have confused faith with passivity, trust with inaction, and that energy of spiritual laziness, of hiding behind metaphysical platitudes while doing nothing practical, is incredibly toxic to real abundance creation. So Sagittarius, these are the 10 energies around you that are weakening your abundance vibration. The anxious Nine of Swords person, the aggressive Knight of Swords, the perpetually planning Two of Wands, the past-dwelling Six of Cups, the financially juggling Two of Pentacles, the deceptive Moon energy, the harsh King of Swords, the isolated Hermit, the suffering-glorifying Strength, and the resigned Four of Swords. None of these people probably mean you harm. They are likely people you care about, but their energetic frequencies are not compatible with the prosperity you are trying to call in. The question now is, what do you do with this information? You do not necessarily have to cut these people out of your life, but you do need to become aware of how their energy affects you. You need to create boundaries. You need to protect your vibration. Maybe that means limiting time with certain people. Maybe that means being very conscious about not absorbing their beliefs about money. Maybe that means surrounding yourself with other voices and influences that support your abundance rather than undermining it. You also need to actively work on clearing these energetic imprints from your field. Just because someone around you operates from scarcity does not mean you have to. Just because someone around you is anxious about money does not mean you have to be. You get to choose your vibration, Sagittarius. You get to decide what you allow into your energetic space. And right now, the cards are showing you very clearly which energies need to be neutralized or minimized if you want your abundance to flow freely. I hope this reading gave you some clarity. Take what resonates and leave what does not. But really pay attention to the people and energies in your immediate environment. Your abundance is trying to reach you, but it cannot get through all this interference. Clear the channel, protect your frequency, and watch what becomes possible.